Tesla CEO Elon Musk now has 9.2% of a stake in Twitter, worth roughly $3 billion, making him the social media company's largest shareholder. By the way, Musk's first tweet after the news broke: "Oh, hi, LOL." A yacht belonging to a Russian billionaire has been confiscated in Spain at the request of the U.S. government as part of sanctions against Moscow and its oligarchs. The yacht is valued at about $99 million. More than a dozen Russian-owned super yachts worth more than $2 billion have been impounded or seized in European ports over the past few weeks. And a new study from Pew Research finds that women are earning as much or more than their male counterpart in 22 cities in the U.S. Although educational gains by women and pay transparency laws are helping to narrow the gap, the problem is actually far from over. So CBS MoneyWatch reporter Aimee Picchi is here to discuss. Because Aimee, the numbers look good, but we know the numbers only ever tell part of the story. You always need context. But let's start with the numbers. What is the reason for this, what they're calling a reverse pay gap in the cities that were surveyed by Pew Research? And where are most of those cities located?
Yeah, thanks, Anne-Marie. I mean, this is an interesting tipping point for women and women in the workforce. And as you mentioned, there are a couple of reasons why experts say this is happening. First, we know that more women are graduating from college than men. If you look at college enrollment, it's now 60% women and 40% men. And then many of these cities are in states where there are laws that prohibit employers from asking applicants, what did you earn in your previous job? And we know from research that when employers ask that question of marginalized groups like women and people of color, it tends to lock them into lower pay rates because they tend to earn less in general to begin with. So some of these cities are in states that outlaw this question. For instance, California, you can't ask that if you're an employer, and several large cities in California are where women are earning as much or more than young men. These include San Diego and Los Angeles.
That is very interesting. And so here's one of the other factors to consider. The study focuses on women under 30 years old. Why is that significant?
Yeah, that's really important to understand that this is in a way, a small study because the pay gap tends to be smallest when women and men are in the beginning of their careers. And the reason for that is women often take a pay hit as they get older. Economists call this the motherhood penalty. When women have kids, they are often hit with lower pay, and it can be a combination of bias, stigma, the idea that maybe moms aren't as committed to their jobs as fathers or men. And because women also at that time can take time off from their jobs. So, we see that pay gap actually increase as women get older. And that hasn't gone away. That is still very much an issue. So, we're looking at it when women are youngest. It's like at the smallest point anyway of that pay gap. So that's really important to understand.
Right. So let us look at the bigger picture, because the truth of the matter is that men are still out earning women. But you point out that all these measures have been put in place to sort of reverse that trend, and it's pretty slow going. So why is the trend still there? And I guess you identified some factors, but also, what cities do we see the biggest gap? We talked about the cities where there were fewer gaps. So what about cities where we see a bigger gap?
Yeah, Pew said that they saw the biggest gaps in earnings between young men and young women in the Midwest, actually. And, that could be because of a number of different issues. But overall, I think it's important to understand that there is still a pay gap between young men and young women in the U.S. They found it's about 90 cents for every $1 earned by men in the Midwest and 94 cents everywhere else. So, I mean, young women still generally are earning less than young men, except for these 22 cities, which represents fewer than 10% of the cities in the U.S. So I think that's important to understand. And it's a big issue. It's going to take a long time to overcome. And there are several issues that are going to take a long time because of one reason is occupational sorting, and that women are often steered towards occupations that pay less, like education. Men tend to go into higher paying careers like STEM careers, and that's an issue that's going to take longer to solve and to get more women into those higher paying careers.
Right, great point. Aimee, thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.